This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. You can find all my work at mjmunoz.com. So I want to talk about Chapter 7 of Peter Pan. I'm continuing my chapter-by-chapter discussion of it, and not my theme for this, but the title of this episode at least is going to be The Narrator is Your Crazy Uncle. And I'll get to that at the end here, I think. So it's interesting. One of the things talked about in this episode, or this chapter rather, is that adventure kind of is a point of view. Kind of a tangent related to that. Well, that's the tangent's after. Peter's so used to having adventures, fighting with pirates and Indians and hunting animals, maybe even bears from time to time, that the life that that Michael and John and Wendy know is kind of like an adventure for him, because it's unknown and it's strange and it's not what he's used to at all. So it's almost, the idea that adventure is relative and point of view comes into the matter is here. It's funny, people will travel hundreds of miles or thousands of miles. They'll fly hours on a plane to go somewhere they've never been before, to do things they've never done before, when they could probably just drive somewhere close by and do that same sort of thing. And I find that kind of a funny thing to be pointed out here in the book. Just kind of interesting, not like anything major to say about it, but it's funny because Peter pretends he's a school kid and I don't know, does other lame stuff that's just not very cool, and he's like, oh, this is a great adventure for me because I'm not used to it, and that's funny, and it proves the point, or it's what caused me to draw the point. Another thing is Peter will go out and he'll have unadventures on his own, or he'll go out and have adventures. And when I say unadventures, I just mean boring stuff, like, oh, I just took a walk, but maybe he's bloody, and you're like, no, I don't think he just took a walk, something else happened. But it's explained that he'll say he killed somebody and then there won't be a body, or he'll say he didn't kill somebody and then there is a body out there, and things like that. So it's just I know I've kind of talked about this a decent amount, but it's interesting how this idea of this lack of reality for Peter keeps coming up, and I don't really know what it means. I don't know what we're supposed to take away from it. I don't know what the child audience was supposed to take away from this, but it is interesting that it keeps happening. It keeps being a thing that he just really can't tell the difference between reality and imagination, and I don't know what that means. Anyway, there was a reference in probably chapter 4 or so when Captain Hook was Captain Hook was running around on the island with his men, and he found, it's when he killed, what was the guy's name? Windows or something like that? Anyway, oh man. Anyway, he killed some guy, which is not funny, but it was framed funny in the book, so that's why I get to laugh about it. Anyway, he found the hollow tree entrance to Pan's base, and specifically he sat on the mushroom, I think, and it got hot under him, and he realized there was a large mushroom that he was using as a stool, and he realized that it was stuffed into the chimney there, and it was catching the heat from the fire that was down in the chimney. And he said, oh, these dumb kids, they went ahead and build these 7 hollow tree pathways or tunnels into this underground home for themselves, and they're so dumb they don't need more than one. They could all use the same entrance, which I'll get to in a moment. But more than that, they have no mother, so I'll bake Mr. Smee, let's go back to the ship and let's bake a cake and put nice green icing on it, or frosting on it, and make it poisonous to these kids. We'll leave it here for them, because they have no mother to warn them not to eat strange food that somebody left out. They will eat this and they'll all die, and that'll be the end of Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, which is crazy because that actually happened. He didn't just mention it and then Barrie forgot to do anything with it. He forgot to follow up with it. It happens here that we hear about the fact that the cake did get baked, it did get left there, and Wendy, as their mother, did stop them from eating this strange cake multiple times until it became so hard that they used it as a missile, which means, like a projectile, and they threw it, I don't know, somewhere, and Hook ended up tripping over it, which is pretty hilarious. That's a lot of fun for me. So anyway, it's just kind of ridiculous. Oh yeah, and then Hook's wrong. Apparently you do need a separate entrance for each person because it's made for each kid, but I don't think it actually needs to be that way. I don't think it actually needs to be that way. That's just how Peter wants it. So that's what happens. So it's kind of interesting. And then Wendy's wolf appears, it comes back to her. This is something I mentioned in the short that I did talking about this. It's something I mentioned previously, I believe, because like the Indians belong to John and Michael, the little one. I don't know what he particularly imagines in the Neverland, but part of the Neverland that Wendy imagines, I believe, is the Mermaid Lagoon, as well as the wolf that she has there. And I don't know what the deal is with the wolf. I don't know if it comes back. If it does later, I'll gladly talk about that. I hope it does. I have ideas for what can be done with the wolf, but it also, the wolf is mentioned in juxtaposition to this like long series of adventures, and like days and nights pass so quickly that the darling children are like forgetting their parents, and Wendy's making tests for the boys to do so that they would remember their mother and father and what it's like to be home. But like time passes differently there, and it passes very quickly, and there are so many suns and moons that suns and moons pass very quickly, and like you kind of lose grip of time, which is super interesting. And it mentions that there are many adventures, and almost implying that there are, you know, dozens of adventures to be told of that aren't contained in this book. And it would take, he made some joke like it would take like a tax document book to fill all the adventures or whatever. So there's, you know, volumes and volumes more of Peter Pan worthy stories that are told, or that are there out in the ether to be imagined and to be told. And I was thinking it'd be cool to kind of do that as a project. Like somebody could do interquels or sequels to this original book, which is in the public domain, and it'd be totally fine because you can totally do it. There's totally room to do it as long as you leave everybody alive to go into chapters 8 and beyond from this. You could do lots of stuff, and I'm thinking you got to put Wendy on that wolf and have her riding it around, because that'd be super cool. Or even having it save her from, you know, pirates or Indians or whoever. You could do a lot of cool stuff with that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And then as the chapter closes up, the narrator goes on and on and on. He mentions like 6 or so different adventures, and he says, will we tell this one? Will we tell that one? Oh, I flipped a coin. Maybe I should flip again and do best 2 out of 3, and all this stuff. And then he finally decides on one, the Mermaid Lagoon story he's going to tell, which is going to be what chapter 8 contains, if it's not about it entirely. And I was thinking, who's vamping here? Is that the narrator vamping for humor? Is that Barrie not knowing what to write and just like making stuff up on the fly? Or what? Is that, you know, purposeful? Or was it a crutch and then he leaned into it and made it his thing? Or what? I don't know. But like, that's why I said it's like your crazy uncle's telling you the story. I was going to say your drunk uncle, but I don't know how that would play. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's very interesting how fertile the Neverland is for stories, and how this story itself, the narration of it, provides an availability, an option, a opening for somebody to make these Untold Tales of Peter Pan or Untold Tales of Neverland or something like that. And I think it'd be a brilliant idea. I'll leave it to somebody else for now, but I think that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now on this matter. I've got other work to do, so I'm going to get to it. I encourage you to check out my website to find full show notes. I'm going to have all these episodes linked together in a single post, so you can listen to them all, including the Fortress Fiction episode I will do after reading through the whole book and gathering my thoughts on it and figuring out what exactly I think of this book and where it belongs in the Fortress Fiction, or whether it belongs or not in the Fortress Fiction. And yes, I like that a lot. I would also encourage you to subscribe, share, like this, to get more people listening to this, more people paying attention to these stories and my treatment of them, so that we can have a thriving community talking about literature, children's literature specifically, because that's an area of my focus right now. Is I want to be writing children's literature, so I figure I should master middle grade fiction by consuming it, as much of it as I can, analyzing it, thinking about it, and figuring out how it works, and figuring out how to make my own compelling stories that will become classics like, Peter Pan and other great books. So until next time, folks, take care, be well, and keep reading. I hope you enjoyed that. Go to mjmunoz.com to leave any questions, comments, or other feedback you might have. There you can find all of my analysis, art, and fiction. I cover books, tokusatsu, comic books, anime, and more. Look around. You're sure to find something else that you'll enjoy as well. This has been a Story Over Everything production.